Wow, there are so many things that were my favorite parts. I mean, there's definitely not one thing about the trip. I mean, if you take the first reason that we went, which was lacrosse, it was lacrosse on a level that I have never experienced or seen.
My favorite part. Yeah, I guess that's good that that's difficult, right? Because people had a lot of, there was a lot of favorites, So I think my favorite part was probably seeing Melbourne and just being able to obviously see a country that I've never been to before. I'd never been anywhere beyond like the Caribbean. So I liked Sydney too, but I think seeing Melbourne surprised me. I think when we took like the tour through the city, I think it was more than I expected.
That's not a simple.
That's what I'm saying, right?
I guess if I had to pick one, probably the day, like I had mentioned, where we went through Melbourne and took the tram into Melbourne and walked around that day. I think that was probably one of my favorite days. And of course, the day they won the championship. But yeah, it would be hard to pick a favorite because the 12 Apostles was great.
But yeah, I'd have to say my favorite part wasn't necessarily, I mean, obviously like winning, but like all the random experiences that like when we were like able to go free and do whatever, just like the places we ended up in, like not knowing how we got there, but like
we ended up in a 24-hour gym at 4 a.m. on the set.
Hey, Mason.
No.
Mason, you want a Tim Tam?
I really do. They sell those in Arizona.
Tim Tam slams. There you go.
Yeah, there's something.
Slams. Yeah, but that's the fun, right? That's like who was saying that they were some of the best people?
I thought they were some of the best people. Like I mean, even like after the game, like they played extremely. Like they weren't the most skilled people. Right. They only had 2 years to play, but they come after the game and they never stopped like playing the game. Like even if we were up on
joy, like pure.
Yeah, and they just loved it.
Joy.
Like it fueled my love for lacrosse. I think over that trip.
Right. Like I absolutely love, I'm going to embarrass Kyle for a minute. I love the picture your father sent me of you and the Japanese kid. Where you swap shirts and the smile on both of your faces is like so real and organic, It's not put on like, oh, I have to smile now. Nate comes to you with an email and says, Mom, look at this. What goes through your mind as a parent?
All right, here's where I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah, please do.
I know where it's going to end up. Honestly, I wasn't sure. It's like Nate. I mean, I know my kid. I love my kid dearly. He's an awesome kid. But I know he's not being recruited by D1 schools. Yep. So why is this Ed Ryder guy recruiting my kid? Like, I don't quite get it. Is this for real?
To take advantage of the opportunity to go. And when we first got it, I remember seeing the email and we were like kind of not sure if it was like legit. Like, what is this? So I sent Tim a text and he was like, oh yeah, that's a college buddy of mine, a former teammate of mine. And he said, no, and he promoted it too and said, I would, definitely look into it. So, but I think really it was just like the opportunity that hopefully now won't be a once in a lifetime opportunity after going. Obviously, I'm interested in trying to get back already.
So I was a little hesitant at first. I had Randy talk to you. I don't know if you remember that, but I had him call.
Yeah, I remember when he called.
Yep. So I said to Randy, I said, okay, this is really kind of deja vu for us that, Zach got this offer for the sport that he loves. And now Nate's getting this offer. What do we do? And so I don't think Randy was on the phone with you more than 10 minutes and he was writing a check and he was done. And here I am as the mom going, but are you sure?
So here's a question my wife thought of that I thought was great. Why'd you go?
I saw it as a once in a lifetime opportunity to go to a place that I had thought about as a place that I would like to go, but what would ever get me there, or when would I ever have the time, or I guess probably willing to make the investment to go. So when that came up and the fact that I could go there and it be lacrosse related, which obviously is something that I love as a father and as a coach of lacrosse for so long, it seemed like the perfect fit and like the perfect match.
But I think that was kind of the one thing was, one of us needed to go, which in hindsight we didn't, but it was a good excuse.
Right.
Australia's always been a bucket list.
Right.
And you know, you think about the money and you think, all right, should I? I don't know. And you start to be pragmatic. And my husband just looked at me and said, if you don't go now, you
Right.
cannot miss this opportunity.
Right.
And, you know, then it just became, there's no looking back. I can't
Right.
wait to do
Right.
this. And, you know,
I
who knows
find
about-
myself, right, I find myself telling people, and of course it's, you know, biased and, you know, it's partial towards what I'm trying to accomplish, but I find myself telling people, there's a good chance that your kid will get to Europe someday, business, vacation, whatever. There's really very few chances, like in your reference to it being a bucket list, so true. What was the most valuable part of the whole experience, you think, for Kyle?
That's a good question. Most valuable part.
I think just to know that we were able to give him that experience to, you know, you don't know when he gets done with college, is he going to get a job right away? Is he going to get married,
Right.
have kids?
Right.
And now he's tied down and doesn't feel like he can go. I know that he's gone and done something that probably not a lot of his friends have done. So there's that aspect of, dude, you went halfway around the world. You know, so many incredible things.
Right.
I think it was a good, as a player heading off to go play in college, I think the fact of rooming with somebody you hadn't roomed with before, and staying on schedule, and, you know, having that type of responsibility to behave properly.
And if you remember, I asked you that question, can they
Right.
not room together? And you said,
Right.
nope. And I was like, ooh, I know that's not going to be a problem for him, but I just was nervous about that.
And you know what's kind of cute, frankly, parent to parent? In a way, these trips also prepare them for college when they have a roommate, maybe for the first time in their life.
Yep. Well, and they had that. They had when we were in Melbourne, the matchups were not what they wanted to be. They figured it out. They switched rooms. They did what they needed to do.
Yep.
You know, so to speak. So I think for him, and being on time for the bus and knowing how to behave on the bus, I think all of that was probably very good for him, to be involved in that structure and have the freedom to make those choices, you know, and realize that you have to be disciplined, and also to meet these other kids, to meet kids, exchange jerseys with a kid from Japan, you know, and take pictures with them and get to meet the Australian kids. So I think being exposed to a whole nother country, the culture, meeting these other kids, and then mixing that in with the fact that, hey, you still have to be responsible. You're on sort of a vacation, but not really. You're here for lacrosse, and you're here for the team as well. So I think you wrap all of that up, and it was, you know, extremely valuable for him.
I find myself telling people it's a working trip. It is a serious working trip. That's a heck of a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I think you guys presented it that way. You guys set the tone, I think, from the beginning, whether it was before we even left or when we were in the airport, and, you know, like, okay, guys, we're going to have fun. But it was obvious that, you know, it wasn't time to goof around, you know, that you had to be serious when the time came. And I think that the kids handled it well. Right. Yeah.
Right. It's funny, you know, you talk about favorite things or whatever. One of my all-time favorite things, and it's so goofy because it's so simple and it's not on anyone else's highlight reel, is in the airport in Los Angeles when 27 strangers got together, and like by the time you got on the plane, it's like you were teammates forever. You know what I mean? Like there was something about each of you when you added it together became like just killer chemistry.
Those boys, just the respect that they had for each other, the respect that they had for their coaches, the respect that they had for players from other countries, just to me defined the game so much more than I ever thought it could be.
I tell you, they talk about things like the indigenous roots of the game and the creator's game, and we play the game to show respect to each other and to the creator. I'll tell you, when you can't pick chemistry, right? We were hoping there would be good chemistry, but maybe there's something to be said for kids that are not like that, maybe are not drawn to this kind of experience. One word to describe the trip.
One word. It would have to be either awesome or amazing. Really.
So, as a parent who went on the trip, was there any particular part that maybe you were worried about or apprehensive about?
I think time, like what our schedule was going to be like outside of lacrosse. I think, as I don't know if that's as a parent or just as a visitor, like your agenda definitely helped. Having that breakdown before we went, the itinerary was helpful. But I think I was concerned about how much and like I guess where our interaction would break off from Kyle, like how often we would see him or not see him, or how much time we would have together. And I think it turned out that the way you guys did it was phenomenal. That I mean, it was obvious that you guys were veterans of taking this trip and that you knew the highlights, you knew what to do, what not to do, and had it mapped out, I thought, perfectly. And the balance between like time with and without Kyle, like I thought was excellent. Like there was good amount of lacrosse, but we had the right amount of downtime, but we didn't feel like we were trying to fill it. Like there was enough things to do. Again, hats off to you guys, because I thought that you managed the time and like the itinerary was excellent. That was something that you don't really know until you get there. You get as much as you can out of the itinerary, but until you go through it, it was a little bit of an unknown how that was going to play out, and that was perfect.
If I think about, if I were to plan a trip to Australia on my own, I wouldn't know where to start.
Right.
Where do I go? What do I do?
Right.
This was so scripted for us,
Yep.
but also with, hey, you know what? If you don't want to go do this today, you're welcome to go do what you want to do. But here's what we're doing.
Right.
To know that we had a coach bus at our disposal that was going to take us to ABC.
Mhm.
It was all, I didn't have to do anything. I just had to show up and have an amazing time. So yes.
I'm another parent. What would you tell me? What should I be?
Do not, if you have the means to do this, do not hesitate. Do not think twice. It's the opportunity of a lifetime, because again, tomorrow's not promised.
If there's a parent watching this, considering sending their kid on the trip, possibly even going like you did, what would you imagine that you would want to tell them?
I would want to tell them if they could possibly work it out, that they should definitely do it, and that they should not be concerned about the supervision or the safety or the organization of the group. Like that the kids are all in good hands. I mean, I was there to witness it personally, but for parents who sent their kids without going themselves, there's no issues there. Like they should not be worried about anything like that. Like that everything's handled and everything's very professional and well done. And for the kids, it's an unbelievable experience. They'll never forget, and they'll never probably get another opportunity like that.
That's very generous of you to say. Thank you. And
Yeah, it's true.
I'll blow my own horn a little bit. I really am a true believer in the concept that the kids are our precious cargo.
Well, and I'll tell you this too. If you have any parents that are unsure,
Mhm.
and they want to speak to a parent rather than you are welcome to
Yep.
give them an email, phone number.
Tremendous.
And I know Nate would do the same if they wanted to talk to a player.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, because my wife is so much smarter than me, here is the best question I thought of the bunch.
Oh no.
Who had a better time, you or Kyle?
I think he did. I still think I have to say he did. As much of a good time as I had, I think I'll have to say Kyle.
Oh.
Who had a better time, you or Nate?
Yeah, that's a tie. I'm definitely gonna go with a tie. I mean, we talk about that trip all the time.
Right.
You know, it's all the time we talk about it and remember when, how much fun did we have? And yeah, I know, and just
Yep.
reminiscing. And hopefully that, for me, being older, will help keep the memory
Yeah.
a little longer than a young kid.
Well, it's funny.
No,
Vinny Lang, our assistant coach, said to me that when they got back, because you remember his little son Cole came with us, right? And he
Yep.
said he would eavesdrop on Cole and his friends, and Cole was Australia this and Australia that. Like he was just so excited he couldn't stop talking about it.
Yep.
You guys were like almost inseparable. Like Bob and Vinny and I were talking about. Imagine this as a college team. What a fun team of 27 guys that would be. Don't get me started.